Moving on, in Germany, the country's top economic institutes have slashed their growth forecast for next year. Joining us with more on what that means for Europe's largest economy is DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu in Berlin. Chiponda, what are the latest projections?
Thanks for having me. Well, the biggest economic institutes here are pretty much ruling out any kind of significant upswing in the coming year. And I'm going to walk you through some of the numbers. Now, the IFO Institute has made its growth forecast for next year and put it at 0.8%. That projection is actually 0.5% lower than the previous one. And the Kiel Institute for the World Economy and the Leibniz Institute for Economic Research have also cut their forecast to around 1% growth for next year. But their reductions weren't as big as the IFO Institute's. Now, while these economists cannot agree on what the growth forecast is exactly, what is clear is that they believe that the GDP growth rates for the next 2 years actually mask the poor economic conditions that Germany has right now. And that is because much of the growth next year will be coming from the fiscal stimulus from the government debt. Now, that is, of course, after Berlin loosened government borrowing rules earlier this year.
And how much of that growth depends on the government's fiscal stimulus?
Well, the economists estimate that as much as 0.7% of the economic growth is actually coming from the 900 billion of euros that the government will be spending on defense, infrastructure, and climate protection over the coming years. And while the government will be able to draw on those funds for the first time in the 2026 budget, it does not look like the wider economy will be benefiting much. And we may have seen some of that earlier this week from the number of German companies that are becoming insolvent. It is projected to hit a 9-year high in 2025. Now, overall, ordinary Germans haven't felt much of a positive effect from the looser government borrowing rules. And even Germany's Council of Economic Advisors, who do not always agree that the government's fiscal stimulus could be better spent. And they say the German economy could grow as much as 5% every year if the government made the right investments.
Chiponda, thank you for joining us with those updates.